living in upstate New York. Two friends came over to my house in their car and knocked on my door, and I answered the door, and they basically demanded that I get in the car with them. And I said, what's going on? I said, we're going to show you something that's going to blow your mind. I said, well, what would that be? And he said, we can't tell you because if we did, it wouldn't make any sense. You have to actually experience it for yourself. So I was curious, so I got in the car with them, and they drove me to the next town over from where we lived. It was took me into this place I'd never heard of. It was a German restaurant called Franzel's. And when we arrived at this restaurant, car park of the restaurant, there was only one car in the car park, so it didn't look like it was a real happy place. And it actually looked like it was about to close, but my friend said, oh, this is going to be really great. So anyway, we walked through the front door. And the place looked completely deserted. The chairs in the dining room were all up on the tables. The place had just been swept out. And there was actually only one person in the entire restaurant, which was this guy behind the bar polishing glasses. And that turned out to be the owner, whose name was Franzel. He was from Bavaria. And my friends said hello and walked over to him. I was thinking we were going to be asked to leave because it looked like it was going to close, but he was actually very nice, welcomed us all over. And my friends started talking away with him. They'd obviously been spending time there and they all knew each other. So I'm still curious as to what's going to be happening here. Is it sort of a strange place? At least it seemed like a strange place to me. And after about a couple of minutes, my friend Sam said, Franzel, would you play us some music like you did the other night so our friend here can hear what you do? Oh, okay, so this guy's going to be this incredible European accordion player. But I didn't see any accordions around. And actually, come to think of it, there really weren't any musical instruments that I could think within view. But anyway, he said, sure, I'd love to play some music with you guys. He reached under the bar and pulled up a violin bow. Oh, of course, why didn't I think of that? He's got a violin back there. He's going to be this amazing European violinist. And then he pulled up his other hand. It was a saw. Saw. Trying to figure out what in the world he's going to do with that would be healthy. Anyway, he steps out from behind the bar and goes over and locks the front door and turns out the outside light. Which one are we? Great. Locked in a dark restaurant with a guy with a saw. But my friends were delighted, and we all followed him into the dining room. And everybody took a chair down from one of the tables, and we sat around Franzel, sort of a circle. Franzel took the saw, bent it around his ankle, and bent it the other way around his knee, and closed his eyes, put his head down really, really close to the saw, and started running the violin bow against the edge of the saw. Anyway, my mouth dropped to about there, and stayed that way for the next half hour as he played virtuoso music on the saw. And it was absolutely gobsmacking. First of all, because I'd never heard the saw before, I didn't even realize it was an instrument, and how amazing it sounds. It's just, it's a combination of eerie, scary, and beautiful. And then I had obviously been playing all his life, and it was just, he could play anything on it, and it was, he played a lot of well-known tunes like Edelweiss. You have to hear Edelweiss played on the saw sometimes. It's truly, truly strange, but at the same time, it's really fascinating sounding. Anyway, and then the third factor that was gobsmacking was just the atmosphere in this dark restaurant at midnight, and how special it felt to be having this performance. And anyway, so my friends are right. Every time I tried to tell anyone else about this cool evening, I was met with sort of a blank look, like, well, I guess you had to be there, because if you haven't heard the saw or you weren't in that atmosphere, you can't really convey what it was like. So after years of this memory coming back to me and realizing that I wasn't ever going to be able to explain it to anyone, I wrote a tune to try to bring across what it was like. This tune is called Franzel's Saw. It's in 2 parts. It's actually not meant to be a joke, but it's meant to be a joke. It's in 2 parts, and each part tries to convey some of the sounds and textures of the saw, as well as the atmosphere that was happening in that restaurant that evening.